On this episode of Fast Forward, the wall just got 10 feet higher and 300 miles an hour faster? Hello everyone, it's me, Demetrius Villa, president and founder of the High Speed Rail America Club. By now, all of you have heard of Republican nominee, business mogul Donald J. Trump, and his most controversial plan to build a wall between the border of the United States and Mexico. If you haven't heard of him, it's the current year. It's 2016. What are you living in, under a rock? Now, normally we try to stray away from politics here at the club, but it's pretty impossible when these projects involve infrastructure renewal and massive billions of dollars into these projects. Also, a train on the wall. Yes, you heard me right. There's a literal high-speed rail train on top of the Trump wall. Now, before I get into that, let's go into the background of all of this, of the 2016 election for it comes to infrastructure. As of right now, only two of all the presidential candidates that have run, and there's been a lot, only two have only mentioned about infrastructure renewal, and that has been Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and Donald J. Trump. Now, unfortunately for Sanders supporters, the cold hard truth is this. Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee for the Democrat Party. There is no way her delegate count is going to slow down.
The danger must be growing, for the rowers keep on rowing, and they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing.
But back to Trump. Here is one clip of him talking about high-speed rail.
We have rebuilt China with the money they've taken out of our country for many years, in all fairness. I call it the greatest single theft in the history of the world, what China has done to our country. You go to China, they have trains that go 300 miles an hour. We have trains that go chug, 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 and then they have to stop because the track split, right? They have trains that go 300 miles an hour. They have trains, Japan, China, a lot of countries. We're like third world. You go to our airports, you go to LaGuardia, you go to Dubai, and you go to Qatar, and you go to different places in Asia, and you see airports like you've never seen. Then you come home, you land at Kennedy, you land at LAX, you land at LaGuardia. Oh, LaGuardia. With the potholes all over the place, okay? I mean, it's just a very sad thing, what's happened. What's happened to our country is very, very, very sad.
And another.
We have to rebuild our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, our schools, our hospitals. I mean, our country's like a third world country. You go over to Qatar and you go over to some of these places in the Middle East. You go to China, you see the airports, you see the bridges. They have bridges that are so incredible, you've never seen anything like it. They have railroad trains that go 350 miles an hour. And we have things that go chug, 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 like from 100 years ago.
Logic persisting, when a candidate mentions infrastructure, has actually built infrastructure, and a photo surfaces of that said candidate's top project coming up with high-speed rail, we kind of have to take that seriously. Now, this particular picture was submitted by an anonymous person who claims to have visited the Trump campaign headquarters and noticed this plan for the Trump wall to have a high-speed rail network running on top, and has been spread around the 4chan website and now 4chan Annex Territory Reddit. Following that specific picture is this render. That's the thumbnail of this video showing the Japanese MLX-01 superconducting maglev majestically and magnetically maneuvering out of the sunset along the massive wall. So the big question here isn't whether the wall gets built or not, because apparently Donald Trump's campaign has been over about a dozen times, and he'll never be the GOP nominee. And he has no shot against the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. The big question that we're trying to answer over here is, can this wall actually work? Yes. Now, I'm not here to talk about whether you support the wall or not. That's up to you to research if you haven't decided yet or not. And when I mean research, I don't mean watching a ridiculously biased 2-minute video that someone shared on Facebook. No. Our research here at the High Speed Rail America Club is ahead of schedule and under budget. Right, Darius? Right. Exactly. So according to what Trump has officially said, the wall itself would cost $8 billion. And that's a basic wall made out of concrete and steel rebar, not the actual high-speed rail line. CNN ran a segment on the cost of the wall, saying that it would be $10 billion for it to consist of panels 20 feet high, 5 feet deep, and 8 inches thick, running along the 2,000 miles of border. Alright, so maybe the base cost won't pay for the high-speed rail network along the wall itself. But remember, Mexico is paying for it. More specifically, Mexican companies through tariffs, fees on remittance payments, as well as withholding of federal aid from the U.S. to Mexico. And we're working with a budget of about $58 billion of a trade deficit between the United States and Mexico. No doubt about it, the wall itself with the all-included infrastructure for doubling as an approximately 1,000-mile high-speed rail line would cost significantly more than $8 billion, estimated at around $50 to $55 billion, factoring in the cost of the 800-mile, $64 billion California high-speed rail project, minus all the tunnel boring and all the land acquisition. At the highest estimate of $55 billion for the train wall through conventional steel-wheeled bullet trains, that's still 65 times less than the estimated $3.6 trillion cost it will take to repair our nation's infrastructure, and 109 times less than the long-term cost of the Iraq War at $6 trillion. Not exactly the most expensive thing in the world that Mexico is apparently paying for. Now, when it comes to the actual infrastructure itself, the plan seems to stick on using a conventional bullet train rather than a maglev train, since conventional steel-wheel trains can nimbly navigate around some of the tricky places where this wall is going to go. The plan calls for using decommissioned nuclear vessels at both ends to act as power plants, as well as other nuclear plants at certain intervals to power the trains and cities around it. There were also some outlets where the tracks were able to split to go north into major cities and connect with other systems such as the Texas Central Railway system that's planning to connect Dallas to Houston, and the California high-speed rail system in construction. Now, if by any chance you don't know about those projects or you want to see more, click on either side of me to be able to see about the Texas Central Railway project or the California high-speed rail project. Take your pick. Again, there may most likely be some places where the actual rail may have to deviate from the wall itself due to some really difficult spots where the current border runs now. It's not all desert like they show on TV. There's literally houses right on the side of it. For building something this massive, it's more than possible. Henry Flagler built the Overseas Railroad in the early 20th century to connect Miami and Key West. That used to be the longest bridge in the world. The current largest bridge in the world is in China, the Danyang Kunsheng Grand Bridge High-Speed Railroad, which is really more in itself a wall, spanning an average of 100 feet high over rice paddies, 102.4 miles long, at a cost of $8.5 billion. Now, the one major problem that we can see with this wall is sabotage. Of course, most people wouldn't like to have a wall in front of them that apparently they paid for. And it's not just the threat of sabotage over in Mexico. We've had the threat of sabotage over here in the United States for some of the projects that we've had here as well. Take, for example, the All Aboard Florida project right here that's happening right now that will connect Miami to Orlando in 2017. Up in the Treasure Coast, there were some protesters and opposition groups that even threatened online to burn one of the bridges where one of the 125-mile-an-hour trains would be running on. Oh, geez, oh man, aren't these protesters and opposition groups always so peaceful? So tell us what you think in the comments below. Is this Donald Trump Railroad a good idea or not? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you have not subscribed to the High Speed Rail America Club and want to keep right on the path and keep this train going on being able to connect the United States through greater times, be sure to subscribe to the High Speed Rail America Club. You won't regret it. Also, if you're not part of the High Speed Rail America Club group on Facebook, click here right now to be able to join. We have hundreds of people from around the world who are interested in trying to fix up the United States when it comes to rail infrastructure. A lot of people who also work with high-speed rails from around the world, even train drivers also there. And it's a great way to be able to get in contact with us directly. Also, be sure to like this video. Be sure to check us out in some other places on Twitter also as well. and we'll see you next episode.